You're looking at one of the driest, most unforgiving landscapes on Earth. To build a massive, crystal-clear body of water here requires fighting gravity, extreme heat, and the basic geology of the desert. Looking at the topography of the region, the target site sits 31 miles inland from the coast, in the mountains of northwestern Saudi Arabia. The plan calls for carving a 1.7-mile artificial lake into this high-altitude terrain. In January 2024, a massive $4.7 billion contract was awarded to the Italian construction firm WeBuild to execute the excavation and build the retaining walls. To hollow out the basin, crews began extracting roughly 118,000 cubic yards of rock every single week. Sustaining that pace meant deploying over 10,000 workers to a remote elevation of more than 8,500 feet. Creating a permanent oasis in the sky at this scale requires forcing an entirely new ecosystem onto the mountain. The lake serves as the anchor for Saudi Vision 2030, a state-backed push to shift the national economy toward year-round tourism. That water is the foundation for an extensive real estate development. Blueprints feature a massive architectural structure called the Bow, extending outward over the water, designed to house a luxury 500-room JW Marriott. Up at this altitude, the lower temperatures allow for engineered snow, framing the lake as the center of a future Middle Eastern winter sports hub. The strict deadline for this entire complex was securing and hosting the 2029 Asian Winter Games. Without the lake, the surrounding multi-billion-dollar ecosystem of hotels, ski slopes, and international sporting events collapses. The water guarantees the real estate. Mountain valleys naturally shed water. Trapping a reservoir up here requires entirely sealing a porous, jagged topography. A single wall cannot close these geographic gaps. Engineers designed 3 separate dams to lock the valley. The primary barrier towers 145 meters high and 475 meters across. The flanks require 2 additional barriers, with the third demanding 4.3 million cubic meters of rock. To source that material, crews were recycling their own weekly rock excavations, using the debris directly to build the dams and line the lakebed. Moving millions of cubic meters of rock to plug a valley requires restructuring the mountain itself. Meeting the aggressive timeline for the 2029 Games required intense speed. The builders opted for a technique known as roller compacted concrete, or RCC. Instead of massive liquid pours, heavy rollers stack and compress horizontal concrete layers in rapid sequence, like paving a highway. The risk lies in the seams. If these layers fail to bond perfectly, immense water pressure will exploit microscopic cracks and force its way through. Even if the walls hold perfectly, the reservoir faces extreme evaporation rates from the high-altitude desert sun beating down on a 1.5 square kilometer surface. Since natural rainfall cannot replenish the basin, keeping the lake full requires an expensive, continuous pumping system to offset the daily drain. Engineering can force walls into the valley, but maintaining water in this environment is a permanent, high-stakes fight against gravity and the sun. On March 29, 2026, the intense daily momentum of the site stopped. With the excavation and barrier construction sitting at roughly 30% complete, the project owner, NEOM, abruptly ended the contract with WeBuild. The legal mechanism triggered here is a standard industry clause known as a termination for convenience. This clause allows a client to stop a project cleanly, without claiming the builder did anything wrong or opening a lawsuit. It acts as a hard pause on a purchase order. The immediate result was a financial freeze. A remaining backlog of work valued at $3.2 billion vanished from the schedule overnight. Halting a centerpiece project when it is 1/3 finished introduces total uncertainty for thousands of workers, for supply chains and hotel contracts tethered to it. The catalyst for the pause happened far beyond the mountain valley. The entire timeline for the Winter Games shifted. In early 2026, the Saudi Olympic and Paralympic Committee announced the postponement of their plans to host the 2029 Asian Winter Games. Soon after, the Olympic Council of Asia signed a contract moving the 2029 edition to Kazakhstan. The 2029 Games were the target driving the $4.7 billion rush. Once that deadline vanished, the pressure to fight the mountain at maximum speed disappeared. For now, the partially excavated valley sits empty, waiting for new tenders, redesigned blueprints, or an updated timeline. Trojena serves as a monument to the limits of pure ambition. Engineers can draft plans to conquer the desert, but budgets, shifting deadlines, and natural laws eventually push back.